Welcome to Sunday School.
Hi everyone! I hope you are having a good day. I have some really exciting news. In August, we are going to be having outdoor Sunday school, August 8th and 22nd. We can't wait to see you. When you come to church, you're going to go into the service with Mom, Dad, Grandma, Grandpa, and you're going to stay there, and then Pastor Todd will dismiss you right before the speaking. So then you'll come out with Miss Christine and some other helpers and have Sunday school outside. Enjoy the outdoors, and we can't wait to see you. We're going to have crafts and Bible and games, and it's going to be great. We'll see you soon.
Hey kids, welcome to Talk Time. This is Scott. I'm here. Usually I'd be doing a game with you, but today I'm going to do the Bible lesson. So we're going to follow up on the lesson last week that Miss Shalana talked about. She talked about verse 2 of Psalm 121, which is, "My help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth." And so what I'm going to talk to you about this week is the next verse. And the next verse says, "He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber." And if you think about it, does God sleep? No. God doesn't need to sleep. He can stay awake all the time. He can watch over all of us all the time. You don't need to be worried that God's going to call you to some task and then forget about you, or say, you know what, I need you to start here, and you need to carry out this task. It's very important, but I'm just going to go over here and take a nap. And then when you get into trouble, you're not going to have to go wake him up. He's awake. He does not slumber. He won't let your feet slip. In the Bible, Peter is out on the boat with the disciples, and Jesus appears to them, and the water is buffeting or slamming against the boat. Here I wrote down, immediately after this, Jesus insisted that his disciples get back to the boat and cross to the other side of the lake. Well, he sent the people home. After he sent them home, he went up to the hills by himself to pray. Night fell while he was there alone. Meanwhile, the disciples were in trouble far away from land, for a strong wind had risen, and they were fighting heavy waves. About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came towards them, walking on the water. When the disciples saw him walking on the water, they were terrified. In their fear, they cried out, "It's a ghost!" But Jesus spoke to them at once. "Don't be afraid," he said. "Take courage. I am here." Then Peter called to him, "Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you and walk on the water." "Yes, come," Jesus said. Peter went over the side of the boat and walked on the water towards Jesus. But when he saw the strong wind and the waves, he was terrified and began to sink. "Save me, Lord," he shouted. Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed him. "You have so little faith," Jesus said. "Why did you doubt me?" We see it over and over again in the Bible where Jesus calls people to great tasks, and he is with them, and he won't let them falter if they trust in him. But we also see a few times in the Bible where people have been called to a task and they go to do it, but somewhere along the way they lose faith. They think, I don't know if I can do this. And Peter is an example of that. But God still rescued him. He reached out and grabbed him and saved him. Now, Jonah was called to a task and didn't have faith that he could do it. He didn't have faith that God would see him through it, so he tried to run away. We see very many examples of people who were called to something, and they either did trust in the Lord, like Gideon, when Gideon was called to take a small army, a small group of people to fight a battle, and he didn't think at first that it was going to work, but he trusted in the Lord, and he went through with every step that God asked him to do, and he was able to take care of that. So just remember that he will not let your foot slip. Psalm 121, verse 3, he will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. So you can keep that in your head and keep that in your heart, and remember that when you think that a task is too big for you, but you feel called to it by God, that you can trust in him, that he will help you through that task, and he won't fall asleep on the job, and he'll be there to rescue you if you need it and to carry you through. All right, thanks. See you guys next week.
Or will it float?
Oh, it did float.
Sink or will it float? Floats again.
Go.
Will it sink or will it float?
It sinks.
Hey boys and girls, welcome back. It is Miss Joanna, and that means it is time for us to do a very cool experiment, and this one looks pretty neat. So we are going to need 3 things for this experiment.
First of all, you are going to need either a salt shaker or a pepper shaker. It doesn't really matter. All we care about is that it has these little holes in the top, because that's going to be kind of our stand for this experiment. So you need a salt or pepper shaker. You will need 2 toothpicks, okay? and 2 forks that are the same fork. Okay, so 2 matching forks.
Now, we are going to be playing a little bit with this experiment with the force of gravity. Does anyone know what the force of gravity is? Ever heard of that? Well, gravity is the force that God made here on Earth that holds everything in place. So if you jump as high as you can, what happens after you jump? You come back down, right? There's that saying, what goes up must come down because of the force of gravity. So we're going to be playing around with it a little bit today, and we're going to make it seem like this shouldn't work, but it actually will work.
So, the first thing that we're going to do, we are going to take one of our toothpicks, and we are going to put it in one of the holes on our salts and pepper shaker. I'm going to put mine right in the very middle hole, okay, and kind of push it down in there nice and firm, and get it standing up perfectly straight in our salt shaker, okay? That is going to be the base for our experiment that we are going to be balancing something on here very shortly.
The next thing you're going to do, you're going to take your 2 forks, and you might need to have a parent or a guardian help you with this because we're going to need to use some force, not the force of gravity, our muscle force, to push the 2 forks together. So we're going to make them cross, okay, just one prong cross, and we're going to push them together really, really hard, okay, so that it's actually kind of hard for them to separate, so that they now are kind of like one fork, okay? So you might need your parent or guardian to help you with that so that you don't poke yourself with the fork, okay? So we've got it just like this. Now, we're going to take our second toothpick, and we're going to come in from behind our forks and put it through the top 2 openings that we have. Can you see that? So we come in from behind our forks and put it through the top 2 openings that we have, okay? So we've now got our toothpick just like that. Now is the cool part. We are going to take this toothpick, and using just the very tiny end of the toothpick, we are going to balance it on top of the other one. It sounds impossible, but let's try it and see if we can't get this to work. Look at that. I'm going to spread my forks out just a little bit more so that you don't think I'm cheating and having them rest on the salt shaker. Push that down. Put my toothpick back through the top spots of my fork. Okay, let's try this again. Set it on the very top. How cool is that? That is so cool. I think I have to do a close-up on the camera so that you can see just how cool this looks. Here is our close-up. I want to go all the way around so that you can see that it's not touching the salt shaker anywhere. It's just balancing out like that. Isn't that so cool? It looks like it should not be balancing, but it's perfectly balanced. And that's because we are actually changing what's called the center of gravity. So it looks like it should fall over, but the center of gravity is actually holding it perfectly in place.
Kind of like if you're riding a bicycle, as long as you're standing upright, you're not going to tip over. But as soon as you start to lean one way, you fall over, right?
That's because your center of gravity was moved. Okay, one final thing that if you are doing this at home, you can try. Very gently, I'm going to try to push on one of the forks and see if we can get it to spin in a circle. Okay, if you can figure this out, I want you to try that at home and see if you can't play with gravity to change the center of gravity to make your own magical fork tower.